So not sure Marcus said what type of workshop I'm going to be giving is question and answers pretty much. So if you have any questions, regardless of the presentation, could be outside of the presentation, or the other option is I can show you some of the visual management tools that we built for Ratgeber. Actually, with all the software that we develop, it's hard to, developing is one side of things, and making sure the coach is using it is actually second part. So still struggling with making sure that the software is being used and implemented, but at least it's a free software. So again, if you have any extra questions regarding the presentation or anything like that, you guys coming tomorrow also or no? Yeah. So tomorrow is going to also be a talk about microcycle planning, and I'm going to touch upon some of the stuff that we are doing, but I can walk you through here because we have 30 minutes to spend. Yeah. So let's see. Hopefully my morning Pornhub will not show up.
From my side,
yeah.
So how I understood it, you would plan one phase or one cycle, consisting of several weeks.
Could be 1 week, could be multiple weeks. Yeah.
And then you would test and test again, always after the cycle, to plan the next one?
I wouldn't say you necessarily need to test, but you will review. You will need to have designated review meeting. In Agile, those are called ceremonies. So ceremonies, like you graduate, you have a ceremony, right?
Yeah.
So ceremonies are like explicitly defined types of meetings, and in Agile methodology, you have few of them. You have daily stand-up, which is, you gather up quickly, head coach, performance manager, sports scientist, head physio. You quickly go over the board. It's like 5 minutes. Like everything is on schedule. Everything, pay attention to this. That's it. And then every few weeks, you can have more detailed review. And pretty much the Agile has two different type of reviews. One is retrospective, and one is review. So with the Agile, review is like demonstrating the product. So it could be a software, right? That could be performance testing. And retrospective meeting is discussing the process behind the So yeah, there are two types of review meetings at the end of a phase. One is review, and one is retrospective. So review, you demonstrate the performance. Again, in the Agile, you demonstrate the software that you develop. And with the retrospective, you discuss the processes that lead to that. So in a way, performance review will be, let's review the performance game analytics. And the retrospective meeting, again, that could be same meeting. But in the retrospective, you discuss what should we improve as a team? Like, should we, communicate better, things like that. So I think, I hate using, the trust, communication, and all the fancy words, right? But I think this tool, this framework is actually allowing this to happen without, sounding touchy-feely, yeah? So you need to have good communication, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of course we need to, but how can we actually start communicating? So visual boards, in my opinion, are a step forward. So you don't necessarily need to test, but you need to kind of have a designated review. So in Aspire Academy, this is where I first saw it. Like every month we go and then review each player individually. So not necessarily all the players, but prospect players, right? So, and we need to accept the fact that, not all players are equally important, right? So.
I mean, that makes perfect sense to me, but I would always have the feeling that I need to
test.
To back it up, to back up my decisions on some data.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but some of the data, this is the element that I didn't cover in the presentation, the embedded testing. So most of the stuff that you can now collect without actually testing. So now with GPS, you can maybe get. This is a topic of my PhD, actually, auxiliary thesis, is that we can collect the speed profiles from match data if you have tracking data or from you know, practices. So if you do something that's called a rolling average, you might pick up the fastest spikes and things like that. Same thing with the strength training. So you don't necessarily need to do a 1RM test or something like that. You can estimate the progression. So I mean, it's another topic, quite complex. But anyway, I think the embedded testing is a next step forward because, I mean, there are players who like to be tested. You know, I hate being tested, especially if I don't understand it. Like, why the fuck are we doing bench press? Like, you know, things like that. But you can collect the data from the practice, like, and then you kind of sit down and review. So see, you know, what can we improve? What, you know. Yeah. So it's not necessarily test, but as a strength conditioning coach, is from a Machiavellian perspective, it's always good to have a backup data because the coach will always blame you for a failure, right, or something like that. But then you can say, I mean, we tested the, you know, maximum aerobic speed is fine, it's improved, you know, the vertical jump is fine, you know, no injuries. I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be performances, could be attendance. You know, it could be, okay, someone is missing sessions, like there's a lot of information in the missing data, like what type of session certain athlete is missing, for example, might miss every time there's a low body session, they somehow have something to deal with family. Yeah, and then it's like you put the schedule and the missing dates, and it's like, you've been missing a strength session. So,
sorry to interrupt, I think that's very important to protect your ass, because there's so much confusion between fatigue and fitness level from the head coach perspective.
Yeah.
No, we're fit. Look, we tested, like, can't be that.
Yeah, I mean that, but again, assuming that athletes are motivated to be tested, but you can hide the test in a training process itself. You don't affect the training process with the testing, so it's not implicit. Idea, yeah. I mean, with the modern technology, I think that's doable. Yeah. It takes some effort, but over the last few months, I've been working on a similar, I call it diary or training log analysis in a gym. So if you track weights, if you track reps, and if you track estimated reps in reserves, something like that, you can get a glimpse if someone is improving in strength or not, which is useful. Could be also velocity if you have that type of equipment. So that's another topic also. Wanted to answer your question. Yeah, in soccer, one season we had again. A coach come over in season, and we had 2 gym sessions a week. And coach comes in and said, athletes are complaining about sore legs. Like, what are you doing in the gym? I said, the usual, right? So every time the coach says athletes are complaining, it's always 1 or 2 athletes that are complaining. It's not everyone, right? And I said, okay, let's kick out one session. And then after a few weeks again, they are complaining. They are heavy legs, blah, blah, blah. I said, I mean, if you kick out that session, we are, you know, good for like 2-3 weeks, and then we are fucked at the end of the season. But we kick it out, and eventually we figure out that the athletes are actually going to their personal trainers. Being policy of the club was that that's allowed. You cannot forbid someone to have, you know, if I tell the athletes you are not allowed to have your private coach, how the hell do I know? Like, they're gonna just go and like train. They can watch the YouTube and train home. So, so that was the case. So, but even at the beginning of season, like, we had a meeting with the athletes and said, guys, the policy of the club is that you are allowed to have personal trainers. You know, it's in Serbia we have a word for that, pomodarstvo, which is they follow the trends. They see the big names, and then I want to have my coach also. And we said, you can have the coach, personal coach, but make sure they come over, and then we go over training week and say on these days it's fine to train. So they usually train on the rest days, right? So And the personal trainers, they also want to show off, right? So they, put everything like throw full table of everything. So on a rest day or a match day +1 or match day +2, they got demolished by personal trainers. And then how to deal with that? So I don't have a solution. So it's, I'm listening to you also. So I don't know how you guys deal. How do you deal that here?
I only had this one time in Russia, and they really brought their personal trainers into my weight room.
Yeah.
And okay, then I was first of all pissed because nobody asked me about it, but then they kept hiding in commercial facilities, so it's not controllable.
I mean, I was in a position of personal coach also in Fenerbahce. So when I started in volleyball, I was coaching Anja Spasovic, Serbian player. So, but we were in the gym when they had a gym session. So I was coaching her. The other girls were, doing some other stuff, and I was working with her, which is also problematic because, see, she's a star, and probably they're gonna backstab her. So we are dealing with humans. So it's.
I think the best way would be invite them over, as you said, and like at least inform me what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
They have to match somehow.
So I don't know how it is in a big clubs, but you work with the multimillionaires, and then you are like, they all have their own coaches, right? So.
The guys that I know in soccer, they said it's we talked about this yesterday.
Yeah.
It's a freaking poison that is going right now.
Yeah, but I spoke with Darcy Norman, who was a strength conditioning coach for a German team when you guys won the World Cup. He's not anymore with the German team. He's now with Canada, I think, snow skiing. And he's fine with it. So he said, yeah, I'm like, he's very politically correct guy, very open. And he said, yeah, we have athletes coming with, personal trainers. I don't care. Like, I want them to be here so I can, learn from them. And so that's another option. So bring them more in your gym. So again, depends on club policies and stuff like that. Yeah. If this is working or where is the
could you show some
try the
remote? Remote tends to work.
Could you show some robust planning strategies regarding, I call it right now endurance, but how to implement that in a microdosing approach? I know that you wrote something on your website about it.
I think I have it here actually. I'm gonna cover it a bit later, tomorrow. So this one is, I'm gonna try to zoom it. Nothing like concrete, but this is like the darker colors represent more likelihood of that training component being done on that day. That makes sense? So it's not like 0 or 1, it's more like a likelihood. So 0 is like, no likelihood of that thing happening. So it's pretty much a playbook for me. So I was just playing around. So this is the match day, and then match day +1 and so forth to here, and match day -1, 2, 3, 4, going backwards. And this is from Javier Malo, I think, book, how they classify football-related content, football-related methods. And I was just trying to put that here, and as you can see, it's problematic, right? You still have, I'm going to cover that tomorrow. You only have maybe a day or two where you can actually load the athletes, at least in soccer. In basketball, it could be a bit more spread, I would say, depending on the stress. Again, depending on sport. So soccer or rugby, you need more because of the contact, because of distance cover and so forth, you need more recovery days, usually the 2 recovery days, and then two tapering days. So you end up with day or 2 that you can actually load the athletes. So in theory, this is the optimal time that you can, load someone without risking fatigue on a match day, or them being in a shitty state from a previous game. But again, I'm going to talk about it more tomorrow. So these are the days where you can actually do some harder conditioning, if that makes sense. But I think we can mix and match, like a more robust, as you mentioned. Let me see if this is. So the thing I'm going to cover tomorrow, we have team within teams, right? So we have, particularly in soccer, in basketball, not sure, but we have athletes who travel with the team. We have athletes who stayed home. We have athletes who we used 60 minutes as a cutoff point. So if you played more than 60 minutes, you are recovering tomorrow, or the next day you are in a recovery group. If you didn't accumulate minutes, you either have a hard conditioning the day after. Ideally, you want to do it after a match, but it doesn't work all the time because you have a flight, you have a bus. Or they are playing a minor league. Usually junior players join the junior team, or we had a B league team. But it's always a problematic because in a B league, they know they are B league, and I think there's more injuries in a B league than in a first league because they are not that, the head is not there, if that makes sense. So these are something that I call the functional groups. So we try to put them aligned as soon as possible. Particularly because, if you play 8v8, 7v7 or something like that, you do need to have players. So you need to take the reserves and so forth. So yeah, I tried to put that. I think I put it in a book, the HIT manual. And here are I think this is a conditioning. So playing squad. So this is a main primary conditioning for them, both small-sided games and high-intensity conditioning for all of them, right? So that's the match day +4 or match day -3. But then you can put micro doses a little bit before. And I think, funny enough, I think that the tempo work, running Charlie Francis work, I don't know if you guys are familiar. So it's like a faster run for, say, 15 seconds, something like that, and a long break. Even if it's not directly, affecting conditioning, it's accumulating faster runs. Not necessarily, maybe, according to research, is not a lot of time in a high-intensity zone in terms of heart rate, but you accumulate a lot of distance, and they are kind of sort of sprinting. So that could be injected a little bit, also in some other days.
Sorry, you would do. Can you go one
the previous?
If it's a small-sided game and high-intensity training, do you do both separately or both in
the same session?
No. Would it be different conditioning drills, or would you cover the HIT training with small-sided games?
Depend on which system are you using. So here is, let's see if I have it here. So this is, you guys familiar with Raymond Verheyen work? So he was quite popular a few years ago in soccer. So here are the phases. They usually tend to have like a 1 or 2 weeks phases. So they focus on 10v10, 7v7, like large-sided games, then medium-sided games, and then small-sided games. So generally my idea is to top up. I call it a complement top-up. So when they play a large-sided game, the conditioning will be more change of direction, like on a shorter space, right? And then if they do a lot of small-sided games, because there's going to be a lot of cutting, acceleration, deceleration, you want to kind of stretch the legs, if that makes sense. So have a longer strides. So it's going to be, conditioning is going to be more intensive, maybe with a longer break, because that's being done in a small side. you tend to kind of complement them. So if it's not done with specific methods, you do it with cross-training, let's call it like that.
But so that means you would do both in one session. So you would do the one thing on top.
That's a good question, and I don't have a direct answer for that. I think I have something like this here. So usually you might have athletes who are looking at the game. So if you have 4v4, some of the guys are going to be resting. So again, it's tricky. So these guys might do during the rest time, while these guys are playing, doing hard conditioning, right? So you kind of combine it. Is it good or bad? I don't know. So in practice, I've seen that these athletes who are resting, they like to watch it, to watch the game, prepare for next set. So it depends on if the head coach allows it and things like that. So also I tend to differentiate between the complementary cross training. So you cover the stuff that you don't cover with the specific, but also top up. In Australia, they use top up. So you do a say small sided game. You track with the GPS, and then you immediately see. They were being overly focused on acute to chronic ratio, right, of a high-speed distance. So if the athlete didn't accumulate enough of distance, they need to top up. Okay. They need to stay and then sprint. But in that season, we had a lot of injuries. So even with using acute to chronic ratios, things like that, we still, suffered a lot of injuries. So I'm not sure there is this solution. This is how you should do it. But kind of, in my opinion, the principle is robust planning is making sure that we cover all the important bases all the time. So we need to sprint, we need to lift, we need to play. You need to have a contact, you need to jump. Once you do that, you pray to the Lord. That's sports. So, it's hard to predict who's going to get injured. It's hard to prevent who's going to get injured with a training load. I mean, you want to make sure that, we don't have big spikes and things like that. But even if you don't have spikes, so for example, your training load is same, but you have a newborn, right? And then you don't sleep for 2 weeks, you have the same load, but you are not receptive to that load anymore. So it's always, tricky. So even if acute to chronic is 1 or 0.9, you're still gonna feel that load a bit differently. So yeah, I think I have it here. The example of. We usually tend to have this blocked approach. So we have warm-up, then speed work, and then session, like a team session, and then conditioning. So it's in a time blocks, right? But rather than having like that, we might inject some stuff. So if it's a technical work, we can, one group can do passing drills, and one can do jumps, or explosive med ball throws. Just save time, but it's also from a skill learning perspective. That's called a random practice. It tends to have better skill acquisition over the long run. So if you don't, free throws. I mean, with the free throws, you always, same positions, right? No, you don't move around. But for example, in soccer, when we have set pieces, corner kicks, corner kicks are practiced at the end of the session, and they are like, relaxed. We go 3 times offensive, defensive from that corner. 3 times offensive, defensive from that corner. They're already in place. They're calmed down. Never happens in a game. So you want to have ecological validity of what's going to happen in a game. So we might inject those practices, or that's why I think also learning from other sports is interesting. Say in volleyball, they have something that's called washout practice. I don't know who plays volleyball. No one? So washout practice, washout drills is you need to make, say, 2 points, for example, and on a third point, it needs to be a specific point. It might be from position 3 or position 4 or something like that. And then if you don't make a point, the score is washed. So it creates a pressure, right? So if you want to pressurize a certain athlete, so you get 2 points, and then you say next point needs to be, from second line. and then it's a fucking pressure, right? So something similar can be created in practice. For example, in soccer, after a small-sided game, after every point, you need to have a clear shot from the corner to the goalpost. Doesn't necessarily need to be goal, for example. But in some sports, it's harder to implement, right? But let's say in the basketball also, you can, after every point, you can say you need to do a free throw, otherwise it's washed, so it doesn't count. If you want to pressure, so someone sucks at throwing free throws, you create a drill like that. So after every point, he needs to take the ball and then shoot, otherwise the score is washed. So again, I don't have answers. Particularly, I haven't been in team sports since 2017, like directly involved. But I think that we need to combine some ideas from planning, the skill acquisition. We've been too much focused on, physiology and biomechanics. So designing a good practice that has a good representative practice, I think that's a next step from a skill perspective, rather than, this is how I've been doing all my life. Particularly the coaches like that. So this is how they coach. So we need to kind of, also learn from other sports. Yeah, for example, the volleyball, and even other domains. So not sure if that answers your question, but
it does.
Yeah.
At least gives me an idea of your.
Yeah, it comes back to that explore, exploit. Sometimes you don't know what's going to work in a certain group, so you can play with it and see if it works, like brings the results, brings the energy in the team and so forth. Then you kind of exploit that method for a while, but then you always need to continue exploring a little bit. So you need to figure out the drills. I mean, I might look like a guy who only watches the screen and the data and graphs and so forth, but that's only a tool. So as I said, it's only a tool, and you still need to be with the athletes. You're dealing with humans. So, and I wanted to show you this hopefully. So this is the example of that visual board that we wanted to implement in Radgeber Academy. So again, this is a Kanban board. This is used for managing your tasks. So each card, in this case the athlete, can be a specific task. And then we might have, we might have different categories. This is away, return to play, phase 1. So you can rearrange this, right? And you can have different, again, up to the coaching staff to decide what type of columns they want to have. And then you might also have, say, something that's called a training status. You can adjust that. Could be extra note. So the physio can come in the morning, do a screening, or the athlete puts the wellness question or what have you. And then you might tag that. So in that short meeting, we go quickly. You immediately see who's problematic. You can see, okay, for this athlete, or you might say, like, even if you track, say, GPS, things like that, you might say, okay, this athlete didn't accumulate enough of volume, or she did too much last, match, or might need more rest, or it could be conversation started. It doesn't necessarily need to be, oh, it's red, then she's out. But we can say, okay, let's see, let's see what do we agree to, what should be intervention. So it's it's not a solution, it's a tool that maybe helps you find a solution.
What's the name again?
This is Trello with the 2L. It's free. Yeah, it's free tool. If you put down the Kanban board, then you're going to find multiple tools. So, can be different stuff. So you can have different teams. Here we have different groups. Again, this is not being currently in use because, there needs to be a person who kind of whips them, makes the coaches use it. Everybody seems to be afraid of, trying new things in clubs, I don't know what. Someone needs to kind of, particularly if there's a hierarchy or multiple, is like an academy. No one wants to start new thing. So, and it could be also tasks. So let's say you want to equip the gym, right? You want to order equipment. So rather than these being athletes, can be a task. So can be, I think I have it here, or maybe I deleted it. Team tasks. So you can see to do, doing, review, done. So let's say we need to order new equipment. Who's responsible for ordering? You immediately see, you can tag a user, right? So you check your own task, you see, okay, for today I'm responsible for ordering, I don't know, could be new vests for GPS. Then doing, you immediately know who's doing what. And then review is like, is it done? Is it good enough? And then done. So it's a very, very simple tool to kind of get the team organized.
I think that's one of the best articles ever on the site where you described your productivity.
That was over the board.
I know, but it's
too difficult.
Some good ideas.
Yeah.
I still have it printed out in my office.
Yeah, I still use some, for example, I mean, out of context. We are all, in a way, knowledge workers, right? We read papers. We do use Excel. We plan stuff in Excel. We work with athletes, right? But in a way, we are also knowledge workers, the guys behind the screen, right? So we need to organize our own, like, how do you read a paper? Do you put notes? Where do you put notes? If it's an interesting paper, how do I clip it? Like clipping good information. And these are all like a productivity systems. There are few good books out there. And for example, my personal is like I use, say I have an inbox where I just throw a bunch of shit inside. I review the inbox. I have working, it's a project I'm currently working, and then I have like a archive or something like that, and then I move it back. So it's, I mean, not perfect, but tends to work pretty well. And for complementary training, I'm going to show you, we use Asana, which is similar to Trello.
Is that still available?
Asana? Yeah. So we're using. So we have, so these are the boards. So say we have the published articles, me and my colleague.
But this is not for free anymore. Something changed with Asana, right?
No, we don't pay for it. So I think depend on the size of the team or something like that. If you want to have private boards, and same thing with Trello. Trello is free, but you, if you want extra features, then you need to pay for it. Same thing with Asana. So let's say someone brings me a new article, or I write the article, I put it here. So it's or doing, so prepare content. So this is my Slovenian friend. He wrote an article on skiing, but it was in the summer. So we said, fuck. It's not a great timing for publishing a skiing article. So we just wait for the winter time. So then we're just gonna go, prepare content. And a friend of mine, I can tag my friend, so then he takes it over. Then review, then I need to check if everything is done correctly in a blog post. If you need to pay the author, I put it here, so I need to pay the author. So again, this is a personal productivity, but at the end of the day, we also need to juggle athletes and our personal stuff. So it could be, again, it could be family stuff, I used to have a shared calendar with my ex-wife and a shared list. So like, groceries, what needs to be bought. So, I mean, I'm a freak. I like to check these tools. I like checking the tools.
Would you write an article about your productivity system?
Maybe, no, my productivity system is scrolling Instagram while I'm on a shitter. So that's, need to buy a stupid phone, like a small phone without all the features. So I think, that's another potential problem, because you get so many distractions. And I suffer from that. So I start reading something, and then you're like, oh, phone. And then 2 hours later, you're like fucking scrolling. And how to deal with that? So, and I think I'm kind of predisposed to suffer from that. I don't take drugs, but I scroll. Some people smoke, it's the same shit. It's a dopamine system. I don't know what is it, but you want to have like a, what's next? So yeah, hopefully that kind of answers. Tomorrow we're gonna touch on microcycle planning a little bit, And funny enough, today when I was preparing this, I was checking, you know, Google for. Actually, I was looking for a paper from Sam Robertson, the guy from Australia, and then I saw he published a paper on microcycle planning. So I need to read that. It's always like, you know, something new coming out. So yeah, hope this helps.
I have one question to the other strength and conditioning coaches, maybe in terms of this. Do you categorize drills that are commonly used in terms of physical demands? Like, I mean, specific drills that the head coach uses? Do you have like a list of drills and in categories?
I rate them based on my experiences with Kinexum that I work with in Munich. So like more or less they're all the same, but the basketball coaches are using. So I know from back then, like I don't know, that's 5 stars mechanical. That's I don't know. In terms of velocity, that's 3 star. So I have my own system based on my experience. That's how I rate them. 4 different stressors, and then I rate them in the 5-star category. It's for sure not optimal, but it gets the job done for me.
I think it makes it so much better to plan the general.
But I think Dennis is the guy to talk to because he's working with Catapult.
Oh yeah, I heard about it. Yeah,
30 years ago.
I keep it more simple. 3 colors: red, orange, green. And now also try to mix it up because it depends always what you did before the drill. So when is the drill a red and when it's a green? It's still a little bit chaos, but
red would mean highest intensity or highest RPE scale, because that could be.
Yeah, like I said, I keep it simple. The red one is a lot of high speed running. Okay. If you do it at the end of the practice, if you do it at the beginning, it's maybe just an orange.
So I did something with the IFL club because they track everything, right? And they have like NFL, they have names for certain drills. But as you say, it's messy. It's like what should you? We use a clustering algorithm to cluster similar drills. That's exactly what you mean. But then you need to kind of. Should you take the average of athletes, so in some drills you have 5 athletes, you have 10, how do you aggregate that in a single number? So it could be total distance cover, high-speed running, number of high-speed occurrences, something like that. And then you have that for every athlete. And then not every athlete played the same amount of time. There are rotations inside. And the drill lasted 5 minutes and the other drill lasts 10 minutes. And then you kind of, you normalize per time, right? But then you also get like a huge variance across athletes. So even if you take the mean, I think I tend to take the mean and the standard deviation of a certain metric. So you get like one drill and then 100 columns describing that drill, right? And then you do clustering algorithm, which finds the drills that are closest on those scales. And then you're like, it can be very, very, very chaotic, like in terms of you're going to get 12 clusters or 2 clusters. Again, there are different algorithms. I think it's a good exercise. You might come up with something. But then again, we are even then we are focusing on the physical aspects of a drill, and that's only one part of the story. You know, that's my main issue. So, you know, if you want to, I don't know, focus on the outside shooting, I don't know. So it could be different drill. So I mean, then you might put it like a puzzle and say, okay, we need to accumulate certain running distance. So let's see if I'm doing drills that are for, say, you know, attacking from the outside in soccer, for example. Let's see what are the drills, and then you say, okay, let's select this one. But I don't think the coaches think like that. I mean,
still a lot of noise.
Yeah, for sure.
If you have a coach who just see his own plan, doesn't care about like what's important now or what's the need it's even more tough.
I mean, that's always an issue.
Yeah.
If you could bring it down, I mean, it will never be accurate, I think, but if you could bring it down to one number, let's say one factor, and then multiply it with other factors such as time pressure or psychological pressure or whatever, it would, I think, it would give you a pretty good idea on the level.
It's a lot of nerd work.
Yeah, it's explore phase. You need to explore, see if it gives you any insight. If it doesn't, fuck it, you know. But not saying no, don't do it. But you know, take it as an exploration, and then see if it works. So we in Australia, I try to one of my job, actually main job was predicting injuries. So actually take the GPS data, session RP and wellness, to predict if someone's going to get non-contact injury. And then you have representation problem. How should I represent that with a number? And then the injury, like should I predict the injury happening on that day or 7 days up front? And then we figure out it doesn't work. So I'm back to the bed cave. So my logic now, after years of trying to fuck around with analytics, is you need to use simple heuristics, the barbell strategy, right? So the main stuff should be making sure they sprint, they jump, they you do recovery procedures, they sleep well, and then pray, right? So yeah, fuck it, yeah, that's it. You cannot predict or anything, and
forgetting about the simple stuff. Talking to athletes, like building many safety nets, that also helps. Because as you mentioned, that when 1 and 5 are playing top pick and roll, it's drill. 2 and 4 are jerking, standing in the corner,
doing nothing.
And you just watch 1 and 5, and you're ready to shit on this drill. And then you ask, or you get the RPs after the session, and you wonder why does all my guards, shooting guards, and the priest like grade 2, and everybody is an 8 today. Oh shit, okay, they didn't run for 15-20 minutes.
Yeah.
You have to talk really differently to the coach about it.
Maybe it's not the session RPE, maybe we need a drill RPE. Like you said, if you have guys staying in the corner, okay, this drill was a 2 for me, but the 195 saying, okay, it was an 8, it gives you more information than today practice was hard.
I mean, more and more I'm becoming Hitler as a coach, right? Eventually you come up there just fucking lazy assholes. And yeah, you need to, but again, there's a funny story about a guy who won the Nobel Prize in economics, Markovich. So he won about asset allocation, Nobel Prize. So he created a very complex mathematical equation how you should invest money to get the biggest return, depending on the risk associated. So he got the Nobel Prize, but then he retired and he started investing. They asked him, well, like, are you using your own equation? He was like, no, I just use 1 over n, so I equally allocate. So that's a robust solution. So myself and the sports scientists, we look all like complex. The numbers going to tell me what, and at the end of the day, make sure that you're doing the basic stuff done daily, consistently with the quality. That's the only thing you can do. I mean, invest time in analytics, but it's not our God. It's like, it's not going to tell us what to do.
This was also one topic at the G9 meeting before, like routines, just establishing routines.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's
consistency. Yeah. Sprint, jump, play 5v5. That's it. Make athletes available to coach, make athletes available to practice. That's it pretty much. So it's same thing with strength training. I don't think, particularly on a high level, it actually increases performance. But what it does has a second order effect of protecting. It's actually building a shield. So they are more receptive or more robust to day-to-day practices, and the season is long. It's not, you can play 1 or 2 games on freshness, we say, but it's a grinder whole season. That's why you're not going to be faster by lifting, doing squats or something, but your system might be more robust. And then you might, repeat good actions across the whole season. you're going to be available to be, playing, rather than, oh, fuck, I'm jumping higher. Vanja Bankovic, strength conditioning, the most famous, the most successful strength conditioning coach in Serbia. He's with female volleyball, right? Serbian female volleyball is like a top notch in the world. So he had one of the athletes improving jump so high that the setter had problems setting for her. So, she jumped too high. So she already jumps over the block. So then the setter needs to kind of reset and play in the new jumping ability. So is it needed? Probably not. Yeah, you don't need to be the highest jumper to be a good, spike, to have a good spike. So it's, and in a way, if we have everything figured out, what needs to be done, where is the fun in that? It's like having all your life planned out. Right now, it's a fucking boring hell. So yeah, enjoy the uncertainty. What can I tell?
Yeah, we have to wrap things up, right?
Yeah. Thank you.